Ladies and gentlemen, today I stand before you with a message that speaks to the very core of your being. A message about change, transformation, and the power that lies within the first moments of your day. Each morning, as the sun rises and the world stirs awake, you are given a divine opportunity, a sacred chance to choose who you will become. Too many walk through life burdened by yesterday, dragged down by regret, doubt, fear. But I tell you, the morning is a gift. An open door to reclaim your purpose, your strength, your clarity. With simple yet powerful rituals, you can begin to rewire the very patterns of your thinking. Not through magic, not through force, but through discipline, intention, and belief. You don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to repeat the same mistakes. The renewal of your mind begins when you rise with purpose. When your feet hit the ground, your mission begins. Let every morning become your turning point. Let it be the spark that ignites your fire. This is your moment to reclaim the life that was always meant for you. Each morning, when the light begins to pierce the darkness, and the stillness of night gives way to the stirring of day, you are faced with a decision that holds the power to shape not only the hours ahead, but the very direction of your life. That decision is how you choose to rise. Not just physically, not just to open your eyes and shuffle through another day, but to rise with purpose, with fire, with vision. That, my friends, is where transformation begins. That is where the battlefield of the mind is won. Too many people rise with dread. They rise with the weight of yesterday, still pressing heavy on their hearts. They reach for distraction before they reach for direction. Their feet touch the floor, but their minds remain chained to the same old cycles, the same patterns of fear, confusion, and defeat. But you are not meant to live that way. You are not called to exist in survival mode. You are made for more. And the way you begin your day is the foundation upon which your entire life is built. Morning rituals are not about routine for the sake of routine. They are about alignment. They are about reminding your soul who you are before the world tries to tell you who to be. When you rise with purpose, you are not reacting to life. You are commanding it. You are setting the tone, drawing a line in the sand, declaring with your actions that your life is not random, that your mind is not a victim of chaos, and that your heart beats with intentional rhythm. When you start your morning in silence, in reflection, in prayer, or in movement, you awaken the inner warrior. You quiet the noise that has no right to guide your day. You center yourself in truth. In those first quiet moments, you gain clarity. You begin to hear the still, strong voice that has been drowned out by busyness. That voice tells you that you are not defined by what happened yesterday. That voice tells you that you are not too late, not too broken, not too far gone. That voice tells you to rise. A powerful mindset is not born in comfort. It is not found scrolling endlessly through distractions. It is shaped in the furnace of early resolve. It is carved into your being when you choose to get up and do the hard things before the world demands anything of you. It is strengthened when you make time for your soul before time slips away. There is something sacred about rising before the world does. It's in those quiet hours that you plant the seeds of greatness, one decision at a time. You must understand, the way you begin is the way you continue. If you rise with bitterness, you carry it into every room you enter. If you rise with resentment, it poisons the well of your potential. But if you rise with gratitude, you carry light. If you rise with a decision to move, to breathe, to speak words of life, then you become a force of change in a world that desperately needs it. There will be mornings when you don't feel like rising with purpose. There will be days when the temptation to stay in comfort, to drift, to delay, will seem overpowering. But that is when the decision matters most. It is in those moments of resistance that your mindset is truly forged. Because purpose is not a feeling, it is a choice. And when you make that choice again and again, you build something stronger than motivation. You build discipline. You build character. You build a mind that cannot be shaken by circumstance. Think of the people you admire. Think of those whose lives shine with strength and peace and impact. They did not stumble into that power. They cultivated it. And it began in the secret, quiet hours of the morning. It began in the choice to rise when it was easier to sleep. It began in a ritual that grounded them, reminded them refueled them. You can do the same. You have that power. Not someday, not when life gets easier, but now, today, this morning. When you rise with purpose, you begin to see the world differently. You begin to respond instead of react. You begin to see challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities to grow. You begin to lead your thoughts instead of letting them lead you. And over time, that mindset becomes your foundation. It becomes your armor. It becomes your identity. This is not about perfection. It is not about ticking off boxes or creating a performance. It is about reclaiming ownership of your life. It is about saying to yourself and to the world, I will not drift. I will not settle. I will not waste this day. Because every morning you rise, you are handed a blank canvas. And what you choose to paint on it will echo through your relationships, your work, your dreams, your impact. It starts with something as small as making your bed, drinking water, speaking a word of encouragement over yourself, opening a journal, stepping outside to feel the breeze, moving your body, sitting in stillness, feeding your mind with something that uplifts you. These are not minor actions. These are declarations. They say I am awake, I am present, I am in command of this moment. And when done daily, these rituals begin to rewire the mind. Your thoughts become clearer, your emotions more balanced, your vision more focused. Because your rituals are telling your mind what matters. They are reminding your spirit of its mission. They are training your brain to expect discipline, to seek truth, to reject the lies that once ruled you. So rise with intention, rise with fire, rise with a heart ready to give, to grow, to serve, to shine. Because you are not just starting a day, you are building a life. And that life begins every time you choose to rise. There comes a time in every life when you feel the weight of the world pressing in, a time when the days begin to blur, when the joy you once carried fades into routine, and the spark of purpose dims beneath the noise. It's in those moments that the soul cries out not for more time, but for direction, for clarity, for redemption. And I tell you today, that redemption begins not in some distant future, not in the noise of the crowd, or the praise of others, but in the quiet, sacred hours of your morning. That is where you reclaim your day. That is where you begin again. That is where you take hold of the life that was always meant for you. Too many of us live in reaction. We wake up, rushed, already behind, already burdened by yesterday's troubles, and tomorrow's demands. We reach for our phones before we reach for our purpose. We check messages before we check in with our own hearts. We scroll through the lives of others, and wonder why our own feels out of balance. But hear me. There is a better way, a higher way, a path that leads not only to greater productivity, but to peace, power, and presence. It begins with a choice to rise differently, to rise intentionally, to take back what the noise has stolen, and reclaim the day. This is not about how early you wake, it's about how deeply you connect. It's not about copying someone else's routine, it's about creating one that aligns with your soul. It's about building a space in the morning that belongs to you and your Creator, a space where you breathe, reflect, move, pray, read, whatever brings your heart into alignment with the person you were made to be. Because when you start the day grounded, you carry that grounding into every conversation, every challenge, every step forward. We must understand that intention is the birthplace of transformation. When you greet the morning with purpose, the rest of the day bows to that authority. You are no longer tossed by the winds of urgency. You are no longer reacting out of fear. You are responding out of strength. Your thoughts are clearer, your emotions more steady, your spirit anchored. And this does not happen by accident. It happens when you decide to stop surrendering your mornings to the chaos, and start claiming them as sacred ground. In those early moments, before the world intrudes, you hold the key to a better life. You hold the power to shift your mindset, to speak life over your dreams, to realign your actions with your values. It is in the stillness that you remember who you are, that you silence the voices of doubt and insecurity, and hear the whisper of truth. You are not a prisoner of your past. You are not too far gone. You are not defined by your failures, or limited by your circumstances. You are a soul with a purpose, a calling, a light meant to shine. But you must rise to see it. You must rise to walk in it. You must rise to reclaim what is already yours. Some of you have forgotten your power. Life has numbed you. Circumstance has wearied you. But hear me, power returns when purpose returns. And purpose returns when you stop waiting for motivation and start building intention. You begin small, one breath, one word, one stretch, one page, one prayer. And with each morning you claim, you are chiseling away the false and revealing the true. You are strengthening your resolve. You are becoming a person who does not drift but decides, who does not fade but rises. When you reclaim your day, you no longer walk into it with a scattered mind. You do not enter it wondering who you must pretend to be. You move forward with conviction. You listen more deeply. You speak more clearly. You love more freely. Because your cup is full. Because you did the work before the work began. Because you chose to meet the morning not with fear but with faith. There will be days when it feels hard. When the bed feels too warm. The tasks too heavy. The hope too faint. But that is when it matters most. That is when the enemy of your soul whispers to give in, to delay, to numb. But I tell you, rise anyway. Open your eyes. Stand tall. Light that candle. Open that book. Go on that walk. Whisper that prayer. Write that dream. Move forward. Because every act of intention is an act of rebellion against apathy. Every step forward is a declaration that your life is worth living with fire. This world is desperate for people who are awake, not just physically but spiritually, emotionally, intellectually. People who do not drift through their days, but lead them with courage. That is what morning rituals create. Not perfection, but presence. Not performance, but peace. They shape the kind of person who can stand in the storm and not be moved. Who can speak truth in a world of confusion. Who can love when it's hard, serve when it's inconvenient, give when it hurts. Because they have built a life on a firm foundation. And that foundation is laid every morning you choose to rise with intention. Reclaiming your day is not about doing more. It's about becoming more. It's about letting the first minutes of your day define the next 1,000. It's about deciding what matters before the world decides for you. It's about making space for your mind to breathe and your heart to listen. Because when you honor the morning, the rest of the day begins to honor you. Doors open, ideas flow, peace multiplies, strength returns. Because you started from a place of alignment. You don't need another app or another alarm clock. You need a reason, a why, a vision for who you want to become. And then you need to meet that vision every morning with action, with discipline, with reverence. Because your life is not a mistake. Your days are not meaningless. Every sunrise is an invitation to return to what matters. To step out of distraction and into destiny. To reclaim your joy, your focus, your clarity, your peace, your life. And it all begins the moment you choose to greet the day with intentionality, rather than anxiety. With faith rather than fear. With purpose rather than passivity. With the decision to no longer drift, but to rise. There is something sacred about the breaking of dawn. In that quiet moment, when the sky begins to stir, when the first light brushes the earth, and a new day stands ready to be written, something powerful awakens not just in the world but in the soul. It is in that space, before the noise, before the rush, that the greatest transformation can begin, not just of our habits or our goals, but of our very minds. For in the early morning hours lies the science and spirit of renewal. The mystery of a mind being rewired, the beauty of stepping into each sunrise with clarity, focus, and unwavering peace. This is where change truly begins. This is where the brain shifts and the heart aligns. This is where your mind rises before your feet ever touch the ground. For far too long we have underestimated the power of our morning. We've treated them like a burden, a barrier between sleep and duty. But the truth is, the morning is a gift, a tool, a divine opportunity wrapped in stillness. Science tells us that in those first minutes after waking, the brain is in a unique state, a state where it's most impressionable, most open, most willing to be shaped. Like soft clay in the potter's hand, your thoughts, your intentions, your affirmations, all of it begins to mold the structure of your mind. This is not theory. This is how you were designed. Your brain carries a divine ability to change itself, to shed old patterns, to form new ones, to rewire with each decision, each habit, each morning you surrender to growth rather than routine. And yet how many of us waste that golden hour? How many of us open our eyes only to scroll through someone else's story, someone else's life, someone else's voice? In doing so, we program our minds to follow, not lead. We reinforce anxiety. Instead of planting peace, we feed distraction rather than focus. But when you begin your morning with intention, you take back that power. You step into the sacred role of author rather than reader. You begin to tell your brain what kind of day you will live, what kind of person you are becoming, what kind of strength you are choosing to walk in. You are no longer reacting to life. You are training your mind to lead it. The power of neuroplasticity is the divine fingerprint on the human brain. It is the miracle of change written into your very biology. What does that mean for your life? It means you are not stuck. It means you are not chained to old thoughts or failures or fears. It means every sunrise is a second chance to train your mind toward hope, toward discipline, toward truth. Every deep breath you take before dawn, every verse you read, every gratitude you speak aloud, every dream you write, it all rewires the network of your brain. And over time, what once felt impossible becomes automatic. What once felt out of reach becomes instinct. But you must choose it. The mind does not renew itself. It waits for you to guide it. And when you do, you will begin to notice something extraordinary. Peace where there was once panic. Focus where there was once fog. Confidence where there was once hesitation. Because you stopped letting the world dictate your morning, and you began to shape them through discipline, intention and faith. You stopped starting your day with chaos, and chose instead to meet the morning with calm. And that decision, though it seems small, is the birthplace of transformation. When you rise before the world demands your attention, you are doing more than gaining time. You are taking back your authority. You are reclaiming your space. You are reminding your mind who is in charge. You begin your day not with a shout, but with a still, strong voice that says, I am focused, I am clear, I am guided. And day by day, as those words sink into your morning rituals, they become the lens through which your entire life is viewed. You no longer live according to yesterday's wounds, or tomorrow's worries. You live from the strength of a rewired mind, one trained by the light of morning, and anchored by a rhythm of renewal. There will be mornings when you don't feel like rising, when your bed will beg you to stay in comfort, when your mind will whisper, just this once, just another hour. But I tell you, those are the mornings that matter most, because it is in those moments of resistance that the greatest rewiring takes place. You are not just building discipline, you are breaking the cycle of delay. You are telling your brain that your future matters more than your feeling, that your calling outweighs your comfort, and that decision, repeated day after day, becomes a pillar of unshakable strength. And let us not forget the spiritual power of morning, for it is often in the stillness of the dawn that we hear most clearly. When the soul is quiet, the whisper becomes audible. In the hush of early light, wisdom flows like a gentle river. Your morning rituals become not just exercises of the mind, but encounters of the heart. You rise to realign, you rise to reconnect, you rise to remember that you are not walking this path alone, that every breath is a gift, every moment an opportunity, every thought a chance to build the life you were created for. So wake with intention, rise with purpose. Use those first minutes of your day, not as leftovers, but as foundation, for how you begin your morning determines the strength of everything that follows. Don't let the sunrise pass you by unnoticed. Don't let your mind wake to confusion and distraction. Train it, lead it, nourish it, fill it with truth, fill it with gratitude, fill it with clarity and purpose. Because the world needs more people whose minds are not tossed by circumstance, but rooted in conviction. And that kind of mind is not found in the rush of the day, but in the stillness of the morning. It is built not through accident but through discipline, through repetition, through intention, through the sacred choice to begin again, each day before the world ever knows you're awake, to let your mind rise with the sun, and be transformed in the quiet strength of the dawn, to meet each morning not with fear, but with the courage to lead yourself first, so that you might one day lead others with the same light you chose to carry at sunrise. So I leave you with this: each morning is a blank canvas, a divine invitation to shape your thoughts, your actions, your future. Do not let another sunrise slip by without purpose. Step into the dawn, with courage, with intention, and with faith. Let your first breath be one of gratitude, Your first thought one of clarity, and your first step one of strength. Rewire your mind with the light of morning, and you will walk into the world not just awake, but alive, not just ready, but renewed. Your day begins with you, so rise and reclaim it with all your heart.